Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Natural 40 Games presents the 2024 Monster Manual. I have had this book in my hands now for 31 days. I'm recording this on the 6th of February. So I've had this book for 31 days. I picked it up pre-order at my amazing local game shop where I run several games. And in that 31 days, using it, I have ran 20 sessions of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Now, what I have also ran more sessions than that, but one of my games that I'm broadcasting on my channel is just the 2014 materials. So, in my other 5 campaigns, I'm using this frequently. Now that we have got the full picture of all 3 new handbooks, I would like to share my thoughts about the new Monster Manual and the deadly encounters you can brew up with the newly buffed and improved creatures within it. I have used a ton of the high-level monsters, a lot of the mid-level ones, and some of the very low-level ones now as well. So, let me break down these sessions for you. 3 sessions were my campaign, The Mercenaries of Cinderton, that just wrapped up. That was 3 sessions at level 11 and 12, the end of a campaign. I was using lots of the demons and devils from the new handbook to finish out that campaign, as well as the Beholder, and some materials from the Monsters of the Multiverse book as well. And I had found that the devils and demons were, by and large, a lot more deadly than previously, and the Beholder especially. I really enjoyed how much more capable that made it. Now, in combination with the Monster Manual and the Dungeon Master's Guide, we have got the new math for encounter building. And the way the math worked out was, with this party, it would have been a hard encounter, which is the new top end, if there was 32,000 experience points worth of monsters. And the way I ran that final epic boss fight, there was over 90,000 experience worth of monsters on the battlefield. It was an epic confrontation. There were 5 Lamias, there was a Glazabrow, and there was the epic boss, a CR-24 Demon Lord from Monsters of the Multiverse. It was a tense fight. The party was up to it, though. They prevailed and were able to finish that campaign without any player death. Any more player death in the final session, I should say. Players absolutely have died during that campaign. Next is my Exandria campaign. I have run 2 sessions of that with the new Monster Manual. That is a every other week game, so it doesn't fire off every week. It's an online campaign. It's a homebrewed plot that I have made within the wonderful world of Critical Role, the land of Exandria, mostly in Wildemount. And I gotta say, I'm really enjoying a lot of what I've done. In those sessions, I have used some of the new giants, some of the new angels, and some of the new devils. As with the way that plot is going, the new Empyrean stat block is absolutely phenomenal. It is a huge heavy hitter. When it hits you, you can choose to be blinded or take a bucket load more damage. And when I asked the players that when it was smacking them, they're like, "What? Don't I get to roll a saving throw?" I'm like, "No, the choices get harder now." So they've really enjoyed the extra challenge in that. The next one, I have run a single session of my brand new campaign that I launched after the Mercenaries of Cinderton wrapped up, and that was the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. So we started at level 1 on a boat. And as they were sailing, they got attacked. I used the giant octopus stat block, and that would have been a easy encounter for 6 level 1 characters, and it bodied them. It almost killed 2 players. It had them in the tentacles. It was squeezing them. It was doing damage. and it was a terrifying fight for the level 1 party. The second combat encounter I ran was a pair of poltergeists. Now, one of the big changes that has been made in the new monster manual is there are no more monsters that are resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical weapons. So the vast majority of monsters that did have that feature just have more hit points. However, many creatures have retained resistance just to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. And the poltergeists were a little bit difficult to deal with for the party because of that. Because not only did it resist all of the physical damage, but poltergeists resist most magical damage as well. So, being that the campaign is called Ghosts of Saltmarsh, I'm like, yeah, we gotta put some ghosts in here right off the bat. Promised and delivered. As let's see now. The new poltergeist, page 246, here we are. They are resistant to acid, bludgeoning, cold, fire, lightning, piercing, slashing, and thunder. The brand new party had no force damage and only one source of radiant damage, which was the Warlock's Sphinx Familiar, which was the real MVP in that fight. Excellent fight, and that was a CR2 enemy, and I used 2 of them, so that was actually 900 experience points worth of monsters. That is beyond a hard encounter for 6 level 1 characters. However, they did have some NPC helpers that were able to cast a few healing words around in order to stop a level 1 TPK, as I had worked that in part of the plot, that they were traveling across the sea towards Saltmarsh with some people that are destined to become part of the plot later on. So, and furthermore, at level 1, I ran 2 test encounters. I had, they're available on my YouTube channel. I took the level 1 experience point total and made 2 different hard encounters. One of the times I did it with 3 characters, and other times I did it with 2 characters. The first time, it was 3 player characters at level 1 with 2024 character options versus 6 goblins, which is the upper threshold for a hard encounter via experience point calculation. 100 EXP worth of monsters per character is a hard encounter with these new guidelines in the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide. So 6 goblins, 50 hit points each, goblin warriors, and they've made them more deadly than before. It's basically the same stat block as the regular goblin from the old monster manual. However, if they ever make an attack roll with advantage, they add an extra D4 of damage. Now, my players won that battle, but nearly lost one of their allies in that fight as it got tight. And then, the second time I ran it, I made it an even deadlier encounter. Instead of just goblins, it was 2 goblins and 2 wolves for 2 players, and they failed. I wiped out the party. I didn't actually execute them on the battlefield. I said the goblins, after they knock you unconscious, just rob you and leave. And that is what had happened to the party. The barbarian perished by rolling his death saves and failing. And the wizard survived to see her failure come to fruition. So, if you're using the new EXP point guidelines and the new monster manual, and you're making hard encounters, in my experience so far, in 20 sessions, you will be knocking down characters, perhaps even killing them, even if they're using the new 2024 player options. Now, the next few games I ran were high-level games. I did the final 3 sessions of my Vecna Eve of Ruin campaign, and that has been absolutely phenomenal. I posted a whole video review of that campaign, but here I'm just going to talk about the monsters. I basically threw out the last 2 chapters of that book and wrote a proper final confrontation myself. And in the final hours of that campaign, the second to last set of encounters was 4 different incredibly high-level encounters. I used the Elemental Cataclysm flanked by genies in one. I used the Blob of Annihilation in another, and I used the Empyreon and the Planetars as Dark Angels in a third, and in the final one, I actually used the Glory of the Giants books for the Scion of Sciradius, the demigod of stone giants. All of these were a noticeable increase in potency compared to some of the previous published options. Definitely far and above more challenging with the new stat blocks than the old stat blocks within the campaign itself. I loved the results. The players were pushed to their limits at level 20, and in those rapid fire 4 encounters, one after the other with no rests, they barely made it through. And where did they have to go from that? To confront the big bad evil guy, Vecna. Now, what I did for that fight is I loaded him with minions. He had 4 Death Knight aspirants, which is one of the new stat blocks here, a new Draco Lich, as well as his own stat block. His stat block in the campaign book is weak. The Lich stat block in the new monster manual is better. So I smushed them together, added all the features of both together, and gave him a lot more hit points and some more devastating things, and then completely homebrewed a epic second phase where he became the 2 Hands of Fate, and that was phenomenal. So, that is my Vecna game. Using the new monster manual made the ending of that campaign hit so much harder, and I highly recommend it for high-level play, and it's amazing for low-level play. Now, the other 9 sessions I ran were my epic home game. That is a game played just with my family, and we've been playing that for over 3 years. We have been at level 20 for over a year. It had been on a bit of a hiatus for a while, but I just reworked the plot of Storm King's Thunder to be a level 20 epic quest for this party. And as they went through, I used the new giant stat blocks in high numbers, the high-level scions in Glory of the Giants, and many of the other super powerful creatures. This group has gone through a lot of liches, and when I used the new lich stat block, I saw fear, just a little bit, on my wife's eyes as it auto-paralyzed on hit and went on to auto-crit with its Eldritch Burst attack. She, who has been at level 20 with her Artificer for over a year, had been feeling like nothing could challenge her. And with these new monsters, it's so doable to challenge even the highest levels of parties. Now, I was also going to run a one-shot called the Monster Manual Mash, where I was going to use a lot of the high-level monsters, and that was going to be a level 16 one-shot. I unfortunately had the flu and had to cancel many of my games this month. That's right, I still ran over 20 sessions, even though I had to cancel a whole week's worth of games. It would have been 26 sessions, easy, if I had not gotten sick. So, the new Monster Manual, using the encounter building guidelines and the new monsters, it doesn't matter how much more powerful players have gotten with the 2024 options. They will be challenged. And if you are running back-to-back hard encounters using these guidelines, you will destroy players. You will kill them. So if they have the ability to raise their dead with Revivify or Divine Intervention or any of the other features that do that, they will be using them. Now, this is going to open up a whole wealth of tactical possibilities, because I believe very firmly when you are running a game of Dungeons & Dragons, you prepare the problems that the party will face, and what they do about those problems is their choice. Are they going to evade? Are they going to negotiate? Or are they going to charge right in? Are they going to ambush things? It's a matter of choice. And with more deadly encounters, people are going to have to make more choices and not just charge into it. A full adventuring day of 6 to 8 encounters is going to hit harder than ever before with this new monster manual. Now, so, other than a few errata issues that I think are needed, I highly recommend this book. for anyone who is running games of Dungeons and Dragons. Even if you're still using 2024 player options for your party, grab this and spice up the challenge more. Adding more danger adds more excitement to your games. And when players have to mourn a fallen comrade, whether that is an actual player character or an NPC that has become beloved by the party, it will have an unforgettable impact on the party, even if they're able to bring them back. In most of my games, there's always a path back, whether that is going to be a side quest or just using a revivify or a class feature. In some situations, that has not been the case, like with the Deck of Many Things, the Void and Donjon cards, and with the other game I'm running, there's no coming back. My 2014 Hardcore Tomb of Annihilation, there's no coming back. And, I might want to run that campaign again sometime with this and see how much more blood is shed. So, Natural 40 Games, Dungeon Master Andrew, signing off. I love the new Monster Manual. You should too.